to know by 25, and one way that I am participating is I will not be purchasing any new books until I either unhaul or read all of my physical books that I own. Now, this does come with a little bit of an asterisk, and that is I am only doing it for books that were bought with the intention of me reading them, because my partner and I are both readers and I'm not going to get rid of his books that he still hasn't read, or books that I haven't read of his, if that makes sense. So this is all books that were either purchased for me or I purchased with the intention of me being the reader. Now, I've already grabbed the books from my bookshelves behind me and put them on their own special bookcase, and to kind of keep some accountability, because this is where I tend to film my videos. There will be some in other places. I am keeping all of my unread physical books on this shelf right here, and this is where they will continue to stay. This is all of my physical books that I need to read, and I'm going to kind of go through the ones that I'm already planning to unhaul and the ones that I have to read, just kind of running through them for you. Now, right here I have grabbed all the books that I'm kind of planning on unhauling. I will not do it quite yet, just in case my opinion changes. By the end of Q1 though, so end of March, I do plan on unhauling these. My plan is to donate them to my local library. Previously, I have been donating books and other media to a local thrift type store. It's McKay's Used Books and More in our area. But with everything that's going on in the world, I really would like to donate whatever I can to my local library, especially because quite a few of these are more middle grade juvenile type books. So I am going to run through them really quickly. We have The Mysterious Benedict Society. I started this. I can actually see my bookmark in there. I got maybe a quarter of the way through. It's really cute. I just don't really see myself reading it and getting into it anytime soon, so I am going to donate this one. We've got Arsenic and Adobo. This also was a really cute one. I just have not picked it up. This type of book, it's like a funny murder mystery. It's not always my forte, and I got this at a used bookstore, and so I've had this forever. I don't really see myself reading it, so I'm gonna donate it. We've got Eva Evergreen, The Semi-Magical Witch. Another one I picked up at a used bookstore, a local secondhand bookstore in my area actually, because it's really cute looking and it was giving me Kiki's Delivery Service vibes, and I still think it's really cute. I'm not saying I won't read this at some point in the future, I just can't see myself reading it anytime soon, and I think there will be some middle schooler who will really enjoy this book at my local library, so I am going to be donating this one. We're gonna have a little bit of a string of some middle grade books, but we've got Fireborn. I just picked this up at, I think, Barnes & Noble forever ago. And then we've got another Wilder Lore, The Accidental Apprentice, another cute middle grade that I just thought was really fun. I really get drawn in the art of these for sure. A lot of these I just don't really have a big interest in reading anymore, and it's not that I wouldn't, but there's so many other books. We've got Spineless. This is another one that I started and I just couldn't really get into it. I enjoy a middle grade, as you can tell by the fact that I bought so many, but I just could not really get into it, and so I'm going to donate this one as well. We've got The Ivies. This is an author who posts videos here on YouTube under the AuthorTube stuff, and I bought this in support of her, and I think I started it, and it was just, I started it so long ago. I really enjoyed it. I don't really see myself finishing it, and I think I spoiled myself on something, and so now I'm like, oh, well, I know where it's going, and so I kind of lost the steam, but that doesn't mean that someone else can't enjoy it, so I am going to donate this one to my local library. Now, some of you might judge me for this one, and that's okay, but we've got Fable. I have had this book for years, just knowing one day I'm going to read it. I've started it. There is a bookmark in here that's been here forever. It's like one of my it's Dobby the house elf. And you know what? It's time to free Dobby, because I never go towards this book. I like her writing a lot. I will probably read this one day. I don't know, unless something changes in the next couple of months. And then lastly, of my probably gonna unhaul these books stack, we've got The Woman in Cabin 10. I got this at some random secondhand store in my area. Thought I was gonna like it. There wasn't really a lot to choose from, but I always feel bad when I go into there and I don't like get something, which is not great. But yeah, I never see myself picking this up and reading it. So to the pile she goes. Now, like I said, I'm going to wait until about the end of March to see if anything changes on this stack, because there are a lot of books on here that I bought them for a reason, especially the newer ones that I bought at the actual bookstore, not just like a secondhand shop. Not that those aren't great, but I usually am pretty selective when I'm like paying full price for things, and there are some here that I paid full price for that I'm like, eh. So they're gonna go on the edge of my bookshelf. I will reevaluate these in a couple of months, and maybe I'll do a quick video on that, or if any in the next couple of weeks I'm like, oh, I really just want to read this. So that's 9 of the books that I own physically that I have not read that I do plan on unhauling or donating. Okay, my next section of books. These are books that I don't necessarily want to unhaul at this point, because I am still really interested in them, but I probably won't be prioritizing them, if that makes sense. The very last group that I'll go over are the ones that I like see myself gravitating towards first. First, we've got Skin of the Sea by Natasha Bowen. This is beautiful, and this is something I do want to read. I was totally taken by the art. I've never actually read anything by this author, and I just think it would be a good time. It's a little bit different. I think there's like some mermaid elements to this, if memory is serving, and I haven't really read a ton in that type of fantasy genre, so I'm just really interested in what this book could be. But I've also had it for a couple of years and have not picked it up. So it is kind of short, just over 300 pages. Like, that's not a big book. So this one is one that I would like to read. I don't really see myself prioritizing it though. We've got The Stolen Book of Evelyn Aubrey. I literally could not even tell you what this is about. It's like a 2-timeline thing. I do like 2-timeline mysteries. I've always wanted to write a 2-timeline mystery because there's just something so fun in the way that things are revealed. It's interesting. It's not one that's like, oh my god, I need to read this right now. So it's in my maybe. Next, we've got The Appeal. I don't really want to get rid of this one at all. I just don't really see myself picking it up anytime soon. So this is going to be when my brain has a little bit more space, in theory, because it is you uncover the truth, and it's very different. So there's letters or emails, and the way it's written is really unique, and that's what made me pick it up. And so I would really like to read this, but I think it might hurt my brain. So I feel like we need to be in a good mental space, or like on vacation or something. I don't know. That's The Appeal. We've got Dark and Shallow Lies. I picked this up a few years ago, and I think we finally got to the place where we both were working, because we've had a bunch of different things happen in the last few years where I feel like we've been taking turns not working. But this was in a season where I feel like we had just both had a full-time job and had like extra money, and we're like, oh my gosh, we have extra money, and I went and bought like several books. I think the next 3 are from this haul that I did, but this is Dark and Shallow Lies. I read the back, still is interesting. It's one of those things where I'm like, okay, do I want to pick it up? I don't know, but I want to read it. We've got The Once and Future Wishes. This was also a part of that. Oh my gosh, we have money, let's go buy books. I think I only read 1 book of that haul. Yeah, anyways, I've actually seen some people read this recently, and it's made me want to re-dive into it. It's a little bit, it's more of a historical book. Obviously it's not like real history, but I do love stuff that's not set in what is like more our time in a lower fantasy. It's got the like fun edges. I don't know what that's called, but we love it. A little ASMR there for you. But it just, yeah, it's pretty. It feels good. And it sounds interesting. But yeah, she big. She chonky. And we don't always have time for chonky books. Serpent and Dove. So this is the last in this stack, and this one almost didn't even make it to this stack. This one almost went to straight unhaul. I don't know why. I want to read it, but I also am like, do I want to read this? there's no real reason for that either, because I feel like this has been a pretty popular book. I just don't know how I feel. So that is my stack of books that I don't necessarily plan to get rid of in the next couple of months, but if there's no headway by maybe mid-year, they might be going to the library. So let's head to our final section. And here we've got our final section. So these are books that I'm actually really excited to read. These are the books that they have been on my shelves. I've been meaning to read them, but I just continue to buy books instead of actually reading the books that I have. So this is probably going to be where I source them first, the last section being where I might source next. But I'm gonna go ahead and just dive in because there's some fun ones in here. To kick us off, we've got Blood Like Fate. This is by Lizelle Sambury. This is her second book, and it is the sequel to Blood Like Magic, which was her debut. She is a traditionally published author who actually makes really awesome videos here on YouTube. I will link her channel down below. You should check her out. But I bought this book when it came out. I think I had it on the pre-order, and I have just never read it. I have this issue with finishing books or finishing series that I don't want to end. And I also have this issue with wanting to reread the first book before I read the next one. And Blood Like Magic was thick in a good way. There was a lot to absorb and a lot of really heavy themes as well. And so I just feel like I wasn't in headspace to reread Blood Like Magic and then go into Blood Like Fate. So I think this year what I'm going to do is I'm probably just going to read a good review or like a SparksNote version of Blood Like Magic and then dive into Blood Like Fate. I don't love doing that though. And I do want to reread Blood Like Magic because I really enjoyed it. But in terms of trying to get through this challenge of reading all the books I bought, we got a reader. And Lizelle has another book coming out later this year and I want to be able to buy it. So I need to read these other books. Next we've got The Agency. So this is actually a book that my partner got for me in a blind date with a book gift, and I just never have read it. It looks so fun though, and so I'm obviously not going to get rid of this book because it was like a special type of gift, but I am going to read it because I am keeping myself to the no buy until I read all the books. We've got A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. This just looks beautiful. I've heard pretty good things about it. I've never actually read a Rebecca Ross book that I can remember. So yeah, we're gonna dive in and we're gonna have a good time. Next is a book that a lot of people have read, and you know, I don't think it's gonna be a surprise to anyone, this book, but it's Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I've had this book forever and I need to read it, but I haven't because I really think what's holding me up from this. I think I am going to love it so much that I'm going to go down the rabbit hole of Brandon Sanderson, and that intimidates me a lot. It's like someone who doesn't want to start reading a Sarah J Maas series or like get into a KOTAR because they know that Throne of Glass and Crescent City also exists. A part of me is like that, where I know I'm going to enjoy it, but I don't know if I'm ready to have this in my life. Which I know as soon as I read it, I'm gonna be like, Danielle, why didn't you do it sooner? I know, I need to get over it, but we've got Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, and then I will officially be a reader or something like that. Just kidding. All right, and next we have The King of Scars duology. I have both these books. They're big, it's great, by Leigh Bardugo. These are the only two of her like novel-length books that I have not read. I went down a backlist rabbit hole of Leigh Bardugo in 2024, and I just really enjoy her writing. So I will be reading these this year, finally checking that off. I know I enjoy her writing, so I know I'm gonna enjoy it, and I kind of have an idea what this is about. So I'm excited to like dive in back into the Grishaverse after being out of it, after finishing the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and it'll be fun. I started it a little bit ago, The King of Scars, and then never finished it. I think I got like the barest amount in. So I'm excited to finally read these and finish her backlist. Second to last, we're almost there. We've got A Winter's Promise. It's one of those books you see on the internet and that everyone talks about, and so I bought it, and the back seems super promising. I'm excited. I have started it, which is funny. I don't think I've like started it. Yeah, I think I read like the prologue. So we're gonna knock this off this year. And lastly, we've got Bloodmarked. Now, if you've been around, you know that I actually read about half of this book in 2024 and I DNF'd it. Why'd you DNF it, Danielle? Well, I'm glad you asked. I DNF'd it because I know that the third book is coming out soon, and I hate when I can't finish a story. I really try to avoid unfinished stories for this exact reason. I got into here, got halfway through, and said, oh no, I can only imagine that how this is gonna end, and then I have to wait. So I will be reading this in preparation for Oathbound, I believe. Don't quote me on that. So I will be reading it. She's so pretty, look at her edges. And that is all 23 books that I have physically that I have not read, with 14 of those being books that I for sure do want to try and read this year, and 9 of those being ones I do plan to unhaul or donate unless something changes by the end of March. But I do have a deadline of end of March to get those donated. So they're all hanging out right here. You can keep an eye on them. You can see. I'm excited. I will move them to other areas maybe of the bookshelf. I don't actually know, or maybe I'll turn them around. We'll figure something out. But I will be reading these. I am excited. I don't know how I'm going to approach it, and so we'll see how this works out. Regardless, I will be doing No Buy 25 until, you know, these guys are, you know, wrapped up. And I am excited to share as I read these. If there's a book that I mentioned today that you have read and you love, please let me know. Or I mentioned, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to read this, and you're like, this book sucks and this is why, tell me, but without spoilers, because that's not fun. If you have goals for yourself that you're excited about, I'd love to hear them, because we're a community around here and that's my goal. So I hope you're doing well. I hope you're taking care of yourself. I will see you on the next one.